Okay. Now that that video or that live stream is out of the way, I just wanted to talk about that real quick. Now that that live stream is out of the way, now I can go ahead and talk about other stuff that I want to address. The first thing I want to address, or can I update this live stream? Yes or no? Can I update this live stream? Yes or no? All right. How's it going, guys? Welcome back on another live stream. Now, it is the 31st of July, 2025. The time is 3:09 p.m. And I have other matters that I want to address. The previous live stream, I talked about my thoughts on Uncle Shannon Sharp video, or Uncle Shannon Sharp's situation. I gave my thoughts and my perspective on the whole situation. And I wanted to, while at the end of that live stream, I figured, you know what, I would rather keep that live stream separate from this live stream. Okay. At the end of that live stream, I figured it's best for me to keep that live stream separate from this live stream. So now that I got that out of the way, now I can address other topics. The next topic I want to address is WWE. My thoughts on how things are going so far. Ever since the final boss, and since the final boss gimmick ran its course, things have not been the same. Now, I do understand that the tribal chief has returned, but from what I heard, the tribal chief will not be in WWE for a long time. The tribal chief will not stay that long because he's going to leave again. Now, when that does happen, where will that leave WWE? Because one of the good things that the fans were hoping for is to see the final boss and Roman Reigns duke it out. You know, one of the things that the WWE fans were hoping for and excited for is after Cody Rhodes finishes his story, that Roman Reigns and The Rock will square off, will finally have their feud. Now, I know during the time the final boss was heavily involved in WWE, when he named himself the final boss, I know that there was a lot of roller coaster situation that happened. There was inside hidden feud between the final boss and Triple H. There were hidden bad blood, if I would say that. Maybe I'm going way too much with that, between the final boss and Triple H. Because Triple H sees things this way, and the final boss, The Rock, want things to go his way, and which almost ruined Cody Rhodes' run, which almost ruined Cody Rhodes' persona. And I'm so glad that it did not ruin his persona at the time. I'm glad that Cody Rhodes was able to finish his story. Now, I remember after when Netflix went live, when WWE partnered up with Netflix, and the final boss came out and went from final boss to Dwayne Johnson, he broke kayfabe, which was not a good thing because I don't know if it is the fact that he's been in the movies that he forgot that you have to, if you are the final boss, you have to continue to maintain that persona. I remember during the Attitude Era, and I know that the final boss, The Rock, knows all these things. I don't know if he has lost touch on protecting your character. You know, you can't go from final boss today and then the next day you're Dwayne Johnson. You're talking normal, perfect. You know, you're broken kayfabe. You're not supposed to do that if you want to keep the final boss persona. You're supposed to hone in that persona and run it the best you can. You cannot break kayfabe. When Netflix went live, The Rock came out and he was talking normal. He congratulated Cody Rhodes and said, "Oh, you know, I can." And then he ended up saying in one of the interviews, "Oh, I can play the final boss. I can play, I can be myself. I can be a heel. I can be babyface. You know, I can do at any point in time." But that's not how it's supposed to be. Since when did do superstars go from one personality to the other without a build up to that personality changing? I remember during the Attitude Era, which is one of the reasons why I believe that The Rock should know better, when The Rock turned heel and Vince McMahon was on his side. Did Vince McMahon decide at one point, "Oh, I should let The Rock do his thing. I shouldn't get involved in The Rock's heel turn persona"? No. Every time The Rock came out, I'm talking about when he became corporate Rock. I'm talking about when The Rock became corporate Rock back in the Attitude Era. Vince McMahon never said, "Oh, I'm going to let corporate Rock do his thing because, you know, it should be about corporate Rock and the person he's feuding next to him. This shouldn't be about me." No, that's not how you sell persona. That's not how you do booking. Vince McMahon and the McMahon family, like Shane McMahon and Big Boss, they accompanied The Rock. Whether he's doing, whether he's speaking, whether he came to talk to the crowd, you know, to pedestal his heel turn, Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon, Shane Shamrock, and Big Boss accompanied The Rock to the ring every time. Every time, because Vince McMahon was there to help him turn heel. So there's no way at the next pay-per-view or the next Monday Night Raw and the next Monday Night Raw and the next Monday Night Raw that Vince McMahon would say, "Oh, this shouldn't be about me. The Rock should continue to be a heel, and it's not about me. I'm going to remove myself from the situation." No, Vince McMahon was in his corner every step of the way. So bringing it back to John Cena turning heel, it did not make sense for the final boss to involve himself in John Cena turning heel and all of a sudden washes his hands off John Cena and he says, "Oh, it shouldn't be about me. This is about John and his heel turn. It's not about me. I shouldn't get involved. I'm gonna let John Cena do what he does, but you were involved in the beginning of it. So how are you removing yourself now? Because in doing that, you broke kayfabe. First of all, you removed the nutrient, the substance of the whole situation of John Cena turning heel. What's the point if John Cena is going to turn heel for the very first time? Okay? For the very first time, and you're the final boss, you were involved in the beginning, and you don't want to be involved no more? It just doesn't make sense. If you guys understand what I'm trying to say, it just does not make sense. So since then, WWE has been very stagnant, right? Monday Night Raw has not been the same. SmackDown has not been the same. Yes, we have a couple of superstars that can still do well if they get a better booking. I know what you guys are probably thinking. Oh yeah, Gunter. Gunter is, I think he's 37 years old. Very soon he's going to be 40. The heels and the babyface are either 40 or they are in their early 40s now. Drew McIntyre, who was presented as a good heel at one point, and now WWE is really not doing that much. They're not doing much with Drew McIntyre right now. They are really not doing much with him. And Drew McIntyre, looking at, he's not going to be in WWE for a very long time. The most he will probably give WWE at this point is maybe he might give them the next 5 years of his life. He may wrestle for the next 3 to 4 years, and that will be it, right? Because right now, Drew McIntyre is either in his early 40s or in his late 40s. Cody Rhodes is not going to wrestle for the next 10 years. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. Cody Rhodes should be right now in his early 40s or late 40s. So he's not going to... What I'm trying to say is WWE should not hang up so much on their old guys. They should be building new talents. They should be building new talents, because your old talents are getting to a position where they're going to hang up their boots, right? Your old talents are getting to that age where they're going to retire. John Cena is retiring this year. Cody Rhodes it's either in his early 40s or his late 40s. Gunter is going to be 40 years old in the next 2 or 3 years. Randy Orton is already in his late 40s, if I'm not mistaken. So Randy Orton is not going to be there for a long time. He's probably in the next 5 years we will probably will not see Randy Orton. He's going to retire soon. Roman Reigns is now starting to transition into movie career. Seth Rollins, now he's prone to injury now. I don't see Seth Rollins wrestling for the next 10 years. I don't see that happening. Braun Breaker, yes, Braun Breaker is the future, but then again, how much are they really putting into building his character, building Bronson Reed, Drew McIntyre, like I said, he's not going to wrestle for WWE for the next 10 years. He's going to retire at some point. And they were doing well with him at some point, and for some particular reason, they stopped pushing him. Who else is there? CM Punk. I do not foresee CM Punk wrestling for WWE in the next 5 to 10 years. I do not see CM Punk still in wrestling or wrestling for WWE in the next 5 to 10 years. That's not going to happen. So WWE should be building the young talents. NXT was supposed to be that platform where they're supposed to build young talents to catapult them into the main roster. NXT was supposed to be where young talent should be developed and be pushed to the main roster. I remember when Triple H was running NXT. I believe back then even though I wasn't watching NXT that much, but I would hear from audience that NXT is the next big thing because Triple H put so much effort running NXT, right? And when they push talents from NXT, when they graduate them from NXT to the main roster, they were not doing, they didn't do much for young talents either. Kevin Owens, they pushed him, but not as much as they should, you know. So WWE is very stagnant at this point, and I'm not sure if they know what is happening to them because their old talents will retire in the next 5 to 6 years. Their current old talents like Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, CM Punk, who else right now? Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, even Jey Uso, right? Jey Uso, these guys are approaching up in their 40s or about to enter into their, or they are in their late 40s right now. So once these guys are gone, what are they going to do? What will WWE do next? Because they are not investing on their young talents. They are not doing a good job with their young talents right now. The final boss, we don't know what's happening. We don't know when he's going to come back. OTC coming back is going to leave after SummerSlam. So where does that leave WWE? Seth Rollins right now is injured. Nobody knows when Seth Rollins is going to come back. I know he is holding the Money in the Bank briefcase, but then again, even though Seth Rollins come back, where would that still leave WWE? Because right now it is stagnant. The show is not really doing well. I'm sorry to say it. I like what they're doing with Naomi. I like the push that she has gotten to be taken seriously at this point, and you can see how long it took for them to take Naomi seriously, to push her in order for us to see what she can really do. And she is doing a good job, So WWE really needs to, review their talents and understand that their current old talents are going to retire. So in the next 5 years, Randy Orton will not be wrestling for WWE in the next 10 years. That's not going to happen. If WWE are going to get his time, probably in the next 4 to 5 years max, if he doesn't get injured. In the next 4 to 5 years, Randy Orton will not be wrestling for WWE. I can promise you that. So they need to really AJ Styles in the next 4 to 5 years will not be wrestling for WWE either. I don't think so. I don't foresee it coming. Now, you can have someone like Damian Priest, but how much are they really doing with these guys for them to be the next top guy? Braun Breaker, who they are kind of heavily pushing right now, he's just one person. You need talents like that, enough of them. But hey, that's the thing. That is the thing. They need to do a better job with their talents, because if things stays the way it is, people might end up preferring Vince McMahon than Triple H, because Vince McMahon at one point, it looked like his brain was so fried that he lost touch on the program. But that's another point that I want to address. Another point that I want to address is I believe if you have not checked out the live stream that I did 2 days ago, please go and check it out. That live stream talked about solo leveling being a solid competition with Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball Z. Song Jiwoo can definitely beat Goku. That was, I believe, that's the title of that live stream. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out, because I gave and I explained why I don't think so. I will give solo leveling props for coming this far. I'll give them props for doing such a good job, and I'll give them props for coming so far to the point that they are gearing their hero, their protagonist, to surpass Goku, to take up the mantle. Because as it stands, Goku has been on top for the last 40 years as the top hero amongst all the other enemies. The top hero and the strongest hero amongst other OP enemies. So solo leveling is trying to change all that by infusing their protagonist, by building their protagonist so much that it looks like his powers has rivaled Goku to the point that he is more stronger than Goku. If you haven't watched that live stream, please go watch it. On that note, keep on keeping on. See you in the next video.